Hello guys and welcome back to another model railway running session, and today we have the 4 most expensive locomotives in my entire model railway collection, and we're going to go in order of the most expensive RRP wise for 3 of them to the least expensive in terms of purchase cost, and these are the 4. The all cost over £200, except from one which actually didn't, but I will get to that when we do the running session of that locomotive. But yes, that's the 4. I love all 4 of them a lot. 2 of them are experimental locomotives. One of them is one of the most powerful locomotives in Britain, and one is a diesel. So yes, we'll get to those shortly, but we're going to start with the most expensive and enjoy that running for a little bit, and then go through each one as we go. So let's get to it. Right, so the first locomotive is the Turbomotive, which is an LMS Princess Royal class with a turbine, steam turbine system, rather than a traditional boiler. This is the most expensive locomotive I've ever actually purchased in terms of paying for, and this is the most expensive RRP. So the RRP from Hornby I think is about £280 or something, in the realm of that anyway, and I paid £226.49 on Rails of Sheffield for this. Gorgeous thing. I do absolutely love this Turbomotive. It's fully die-cast, so it's very, very heavy. It's a very good locomotive. I do like it a lot. But it is the most expensive RRP. I believe it's £282.99 DCC ready from Hornby.com. So that's why it's first. And it is a Hornby loco. 3 of the locos today are Hornby, which tells you something, doesn't it? 3 of them are new Tool locos as well. So they have come out in the last couple of years. So that is fair in sort of a way, but it has working lights as well, so it is high spec, very high spec. We've just got it coupled up with some BR Mark ones because they match colour wise, and that's about as well as we're gonna do for now. So I'll watch it go past the station again. I mean, it does look lovely, doesn't it? So it's fair enough. Grab the camera. So we've got those 2 coming up. We've got some LNER coming up shortly for you LNER fans. But look at this. Look at this. It's one of the largest locomotives in the collection. These 2 are the largest steam locomotives in the collection, but this is much smaller. You can see going past it, it's still quite large. So we'll get some shots of this going round, and then we'll move on to the next loco. Got the working lights there. It's also got firebox glow as well, which is quite easy to see on this locomotive, which is pretty cool. We'll soon have a vintage locomotive running session coming up. That'll be next week, I think. So it's another one I want to do. When I say vintage, they're not necessarily. Some of them are not necessarily vintage, but again, you can get the firebox glow going through there. So they're not necessarily vintage, shall we say? But anyway. I wanted to do these first because I could do this. This is the 200 club, so all of these locos have cost over £200, which is a lot of money, which means that there's a lot of value in this video, which I'm not particularly proud about, I will say, because it's a lot of money that I could have spent elsewhere. But just look at them, they're beautiful, beautiful things. It is cool to have the Turbomotive and those 2 as well, specifically, all together. Just look at that thing. So yeah. Do love these a lot. And let's not forget that beast, which is coming up later, which I can't wait for. I do love that. It's weird because it doesn't have like the traditional complicated linkage. It's a simple setup because of the steam turbine system. It is pretty cool. So yeah, it is mad, really. It's back, there we go. Size that thing. It's incredibly heavy as well. It's Hornby's heaviest steam locomotive. Here it comes. There we go. Big thing. So we're not going to spend too long running each one, because we don't want the video to be too long. But that is the Turbomotive, the most expensive locomotive in the collection so far, shall we say. RRP wise anyway. Closer to 300 than it is to 200, which is mad. But 226 I think I got this for is not too bad, to be honest, because it is incredibly high spec, so yeah. But now on to the next locomotive. Right. The LNER teaks have decided to roll down the hill. Oh, there we go. Got them staying there. So, the next locomotive is, I think, the largest locomotive in the collection. No, in terms of length, it actually isn't. But it's probably the most powerful in terms of its class in real life, anyway. So it's a big beast, but it is not the largest steam locomotive in terms of overall length. That is next. So we'll pull this round. It is big though. Coming backwards. 1 second now. So that is LNER P2 Prince of Wales, which is the new build that they're building in Darlington. Which, if you don't know where Darlington is, it's in England, it's in the northeast. It's where my MX-5 was actually restored, about 2 miles from NRM Shildon. Anyway, this is one of the largest and most powerful classes of locomotive ever made for the British Railway Network. And this is the 7th member of the class that they're building. And I have a railroad one as well, which I'm going to do a comparison video if you'd like to see that. Anyway, comment below and I will do it. I've got a comparison between this, which is the brand new tooled version of the new build P2. And I wasn't actually intending on getting this necessarily because of the price of it. So its RRP, I believe, is £254.99 on Hornby.com, which is quite a lot. At the retailers, it was going for 230. Now, the average Turbomotive price was 240, which is why it tops. That's the retailer, which is why it tops this. However, I got mine a little bit less. I didn't actually pay £230 for this locomotive. I did a video where I got rid of some locos and I Partex them, so I actually paid £130 for this P2. Which is the average going rate for a railroad one now, so I don't think that's too shabby personally. And to make sure it goes round okay, in terms of its wheelbase, it is slightly it does sometimes come into some issues in terms of staying on the track, but it's okay, it's doing okay for now. Anyway, because it is a 282, which is the only 282 wheel configuration I think was ran in Brook. I believe. I don't know if that's true. Could be wrong. I think there might be some tank engines actually that were 282s. But anyway, tender loco, I think, anyway. Express passenger, shall we say. The only 8 coupled express passenger loco, I do know that, I believe. But then again, I'm not an expert on railway locomotives. But yes, just look at this. I love the P2. I've always adored them. I think they're gorgeous. I think they're very, very cool. They're very, very powerful. And now I have 2 P2s in the collection. And that's how it's going to remain. I'm going to keep Cock of the North because I've had it for donkeys and I always wanted a P2. So I got a Cock of the North in a train set a very, very long time ago now, though, to be fair. So yeah, I think I will do a comparison video anyway, regardless, because I would quite like to see the differences between the two directly, because there is a lot. This one being a brand new build as well, new tool loco, so they have made this slightly different in terms of the original class as well. It has some modifications to it. But yeah, it is gorgeous. Look at the size of this thing. It's absolutely huge. So, yeah, I do love this thing. But yes, I paid £130 for this, but I did get rid of quite a lot of locomotives for it. So, that's why it only cost £130. But it was worth it, I think, to get rid of what got the axe. So It also has firebox glow, which you probably just got a glimpse of as it went past. So it has just gone past the camera, and we'll let it run around once more. You'll probably just see it in the background. It's coming now. So that is P2 Prince of Wales then. Nice slow stop. Lovely. So yeah, gorgeous thing. I do love this. And yeah, that's the second most expensive locomotive in my collection in terms of RRP. Slash what I technically paid, because I did technically pay £230. I did, because of Partex locos, I paid 130. So yeah, but anyway, now on to the next one. Right, the next locomotive is coming now. So this is this was, I think, the first loco I got that cost over £200. This was the most expensive locomotive in the collection until the P2 and the Turbomotive came along. It is also a controversial one. I would say the most controversial of the lot in terms of the way it looks. And lots of people don't like them, but I've always loved it. So, as soon as it was announced, I decided to get one. I think it was also the first loco that I got from it's the only loco I've ever got directly from Hornby.com. I think the first properly new tool locomotive I've got on release, and I would still say to this day it's the flagship locomotive. And this one is the LNER W1, aka the Hush Hush, with the British Enterprise number plates in Battleship Grey. This was a £219.99 locomotive. That was its Hornby.com price when I purchased it, and it, yes, fell through the controversy upon its release in terms of the damage, the shipping issues, etc. This was a victim of the shipping issues which caused damage to the locomotive. It was then returned and brought back, fully repaired, and as a mint locomotive, which it still is. So, it has had a bit of a rough ride, and the locomotive was a little bit underwhelming for the cost, e.g. there's not much metal work in it in terms of there is compared to the Turbomotive, which I actually paid the same price for, pretty much. So, this was bought at its full price. This is the only locomotive of the three that was bought at its full RRP, and I believe they actually fetch more money now as well. So, yeah, it is a bit of an odd one in that aspect, but we're going to run this one now, which I know there's a lot of people who probably dislike the Hush Hush, so I won't run it for as long, but it actually hasn't ran for ages, so it's nice to actually have it running again. So yeah, this is a 464 wheel configuration, or 4622 as also people refer to it as, because they literally added 2 wheels to the back of a Pacific, so it's a bit of an odd one, but I do quite like it. I do like the Hush Hush. Always have, always will. And I know a lot of people don't, but it is what it is. So it's a bit of a weird one. But I love it, so that's all that matters. It's my locomotive, it's my railway, so yeah. Yeah, so it's a very unique locomotive, shall we say. I think the side profile looks quite cool. I think it's the front that a lot of people don't like. I personally do quite like it, but yeah, this sort of really put it on the map for me. That was the bug of I want expensive premium locomotives. But it's also put me off a little bit at first because of the situation with the damage. That was not a good situation. But that also put it on the map for Hornby, and Hornby did lose a lot of reputation through the hush hush, because we were promised it at the 2020 centenary announcement. Everyone was like, it went absolutely berserk because the hush hush was coming and this, that and the other, and it was incredible. But then when it came and it was damaged, a lot of them came damaged or faulty. Mechanically, some of them came faulty. This one, luckily, runs okay. But they had a lot of reputation broke there. So, and I think it did damage them quite badly. And they put the prices up. So a lot of people were expecting a lot more for the money this locomotive cost. But it's one of those at the end of the day. It is what it is. So, never mind. But yeah, it is very, very cool, and I personally really like this thing. So, I know a lot of people don't, but as I've said, it's my flagship locomotive. So, I would say anyway. Because it was the first, as I said, the first super expensive new release I got at launch. So, and from the actual people who make it at full price. Right, so we will stop the hush hush now and move on to the last locomotive. So, which is over there, which you obviously have whittled it down to and know what that is. So, that's the hush hush. Let's get to the final loco. Right, so hopefully that doesn't fall over. We've now got the final locomotive of this video. And this is the most expensive diesel locomotive that I own, but I think it's probably also the rarest locomotive I own, being one of only 512 ever made, and it being the flagship diesel in the collection as well. This is the Class 47 in Network South East, Old Oak Common 47701 by Bachmann, and this cost me £201, including postage. I have not included postage rates on the rest of them because I didn't post the P2 didn't get posted, and I can't remember the postage rates for the other ones. But anyway, so this is a £200 diesel locomotive, which in the modern day and age isn't actually that much. But just look at it. I've always adored Network South East and the livery, which is also known as the Aquafresh toothpaste livery, is its nickname. And my goal in the model rail sort of life was to get this very locomotive. So this is one of the bucket list locos that I always wanted. So I'm glad to own it, and it is my flagship diesel locomotive. So it's gorgeous. I absolutely adore it. So we'll end this video with this lovely thing. Just got some Pullmans behind it today, because Pullmans go with anything, but my goal is to get some Network South East coaches for it soon, because I'm going to get some other Network South East liveried locos, so I might as well. Usual Bachmann super detail with the lights and all the detail on it, and it just looks incredible, doesn't it? Look at it. You can get other Network South East Class 47s, but this specific one, being one of 512 exclusive to Colonel Model Rail Centre, I had to get, and I always wanted it, so I took the plunge. And unfortunately, when I wanted to get it, it wasn't available. So I found this one on Ellis Clark Trains, the 00 gauge second-hand model rail specialist, for sale. I think it had literally been bought, and then somebody decided they didn't need it or want it, so they decided to give it to Ellis Clark. And Ellis Clark had it, and I bought it instantly. I've had it over a year now as well, so I think it was the very early 2023 I bought it. So it started the 2023 off with a bang, for sure. Gorgeous thing. Just got to get some coaches for it now. And a couple of Network South East pals, which is probably going to be a DMU, Class 117 I'm looking at, and the Class 50. So they're the two that I would love to get in Network South East as well. So hopefully soon. You never know. how bright that, that LED is at the front. They might flash on camera. I'm not sure if they will or not, but they don't actually flash. So some of the locos with lights, the lights do flash because of LEDs, and LEDs do flash on cameras. So don't worry, the locos don't actually have flashing lights. They're perfectly fine. It's just the way they come across on camera. Just to clear that up, just in case you wondered. Anyway, that is the Class 47 in Network Southeast livery. So that is the cheapest of the 4 most expensive locomotives in the collection, and it is a gorgeous one as well. Probably my favourite of the lot, I can't deny that. I do love it a lot. But yes, so that is a running session with the 4 most expensive locos in my collection. It's not really a thing of bragging necessarily, it's more just a video featuring the 4 most expensive locomotives, just so that you can see what the 4 are and what you get for the amount of money. So yeah,